Ethan Blake, Englishman who had recently been left by his fiancée, felt compassion for a homeless woman and her baby. He invited them to stay at his home for a night. Upon waking the next morning, Ethan realized his life would never be the same. Subscribe to the channel and click on the notification. Help this channel reach 1,000 subscribers. This way YouTube will deliver this content to more people who will benefit. I count on your help. Ethan entered the hospital looking sharp, yet his worried expression revealed something was amiss. His partner, Emma, accompanied him, sharing his serious demeanor. When a doctor opened the office door, calling Ethan in, he froze. Ethan glanced at Emma, hoping she'd join him, but she was focused on her phone and said she'd wait outside. Alone, Ethan entered the consultation room. 20 minutes later, he emerged, stunned by the unexpected news from the doctor. All he needed then was support. "Are you done? Can we leave?" Emma asked sharply. Ethan nodded, and the couple left the hospital distantly. Ethan felt desolate, walking automatically without knowing where he was headed. Emma walked beside him, silently tapping on her phone. Once in the car, she finally put her phone away, sighed, and looked at him firmly. "Well, with your condition, you won't be able to give me a child." Ethan's throat tightened, preventing him from responding immediately. He took a moment to gather his thoughts and said, "Some test results are still pending. I still have hope." "I don't have the time to wait," Emma interrupted. "I'm an independent woman who achieved her career goals. Now I want a child. If I had known about your incapacity earlier, by then," Ethan tuned out his wife's words. Through the car window, he saw a touching scene, a young woman with a tired expression holding a crying baby. Ethan's heart ached for the homeless mother, trying to comfort her child. "Wait a second, I'll be right back," Ethan told Emma, who was confused and urged him to head home. But Ethan ignored her and walked away. He entered a small cafe, emerged with sandwiches and a juice bottle, and approached the woman with a baby. Introducing himself, he handed over the food with a smile, saying, "Here, I hope this makes your day better." The woman looked at him confused and a bit scared, but accepted the food and thanked him. Amidst this tender moment, Emma honked the car horn and shouted stormily, "Let's go, Ethan. This isn't the time for charity." The woman with the baby lowered her head, embarrassed, and thanked him again softly. Ethan returned to the car, barely having time to start the engine. "What was that about, Ethan? Associating with those people? Are you trying to embarrass me?" Ethan replied that he was just trying to help someone in a delicate situation. Emma retorted that his supposedly heroic gesture did nothing to help their situation. "You have more important things to worry about, don't you?" she concluded. Ethan closed his face and chose to remain silent. That night, while Emma slept beside him, Ethan sat up in bed, feeling a mix of anguish and revolt, as if someone had torn away his greatest dream, becoming a father. He got up, walked down the hallway, and stopped in front of a door. Gathering the courage to open it, tears finally rolled down his face. The room was beautifully decorated to welcome a baby, showing the care and dedication that had gone into it. Ethan sat in the dark armchair and eventually fell asleep there. Days later, Ethan and Emma returned to the hospital for the final test results. As before, Emma chose not to accompany him, and Ethan entered the consultation room alone. Sitting down, he listened as the doctor explained the test results. "I'm sorry, but I don't have good news," the doctor said seriously. "The spermogram and DNA test results are conclusive. You're infertile and won't be able to have biological children." Those words weighed on Ethan like a rock. Devastated, he left the consultation room without saying a word. Emma asked no questions, as if she already understood everything from his expression. When they got home, Ethan sought comfort in his partner's arms while crying, but all he found was anger. "You know, my dream has always been to be a mother, Ethan. If you can't give me a child, I don't know how I can be happy. This isn't fair to me." Ethan argued that his infertility was a fluke, not his fault, and he was as devastated as she was. "If it's not your fault, whose is it? I can get pregnant. I'm perfectly healthy." "If you were a real man, I'd already be pregnant," Emma said, stabbing Ethan once more. Ethan couldn't believe what he was hearing, and his arguments ceased. Emma had crossed every line. Hurt and feeling alone, Ethan watched his wife pack some personal items into a small suitcase. "I'm going to my father's house. Someone will come for the rest of my things in the next few days," Emma said as she slammed the door behind her. Without thinking, Ethan went to the shelf and grabbed a bottle of wine. He hadn't drunk in years, but at that moment, All he wanted was to numb the devastating feeling. He downed 2 glasses at once, and by the third, he was already feeling dizzy. Desolate, Ethan left the house. Besides dealing with the fact that he could never be a biological father, which was his great dream, he also had to face his wife's abandonment. This whirlwind of problems led him to spend the night drinking in bars until he was drunk. In the cold night, Ethan walked slowly until he reached a bridge. Leaning on the railing, he remembered the happy moments he had shared with Emma, especially when they decorated the room for their much-anticipated baby. However, at that moment, what should have been a beautiful memory had become a curse. All Ethan felt was growing anguish. With a shaky walk due to the amount of alcohol consumed, Ethan resembled more of a ghost. A cacophony of voices filled his head, but the one that stood out most was the doctor's, saying, "You're infertile and will never have biological children." Altered by the drink and pain, he began gesturing, mimicking the doctor's movements in a melancholic way. Slowly, Ethan approached the edge of the bridge as the cold wind blew against his face, warning him that he was crossing the line of safety. In his mind, the same questions tortured him. Why did I achieve a 3-story house, a car, and a full bank account if I don't have a wife and child to enjoy it with? Practically dangling on the bridge's edge, he looked down at the dark water and took the last swig of the bottle he carried when he heard a shout. "Hey, man." Initially, Ethan thought he was seeing things, but after squinting, he recognized the woman with a baby in her arms. Upon closer inspection, Ethan realized it was the same woman he'd seen outside the hospital. Exacerbated by the drink, he spoke, "I remember you." At that moment, the baby in the woman's arms began to cry. The baby's cry had an unexpected effect on Ethan, as if it pulled him back to life. Ethan stepped away from the bridge railing and asked, "Why is she crying? Did I scare her?" Softly, the woman replied, "If I don't eat, how can I feed her?" Hearing this, Ethan felt extremely uncomfortable. While he was about to give up on everything, others were staying strong without knowing how to feed their children. "Come with me. Let's get you something to eat," Ethan said, embarrassed. The woman looked at Ethan with distrust but didn't refuse the offer. They walked towards a nearby store, the sway of the walk calming the baby in her mother's arms. Walking through the store aisles, the woman said her name was Sarah, and the baby in her arms was her daughter, Lily. As they walked, Ethan asked if she was raising her daughter alone on the streets, to which the woman replied she had been abandoned by her boyfriend when he discovered she was pregnant. She had grown up in an orphanage and lived with him, losing both her partner and her home at once. Sarah managed to pay for a modest rent for a few months until she was evicted for non-payment. Ethan listened to the story and felt disgusted, especially because it was a delicate subject for him. "I don't understand how anyone can abandon the woman carrying their child." "It's unacceptable," Ethan said, unable to hide his indignation. Sarah and her daughter had been living on the streets for 2 weeks, but despite the difficult situation, she was still a well-spoken, intelligent woman. The young mother was embarrassed to receive help from a stranger, so she carefully chose discounted items from the shelves and placed them in the cart. Seeing this, Ethan said, "Don't worry about prices, pick the best quality items." Sarah relaxed for the first time since they met and replied with a gentle smile, "I'll use your money as if it were my own. I'll pick the discounted items, there's nothing wrong with them." Surprised, Ethan just nodded. As they left the store, Ethan said, "Look, I live alone now, and there's a guest room where you can spend the night." Sarah was immediately frightened by the man's proposal. She handed Ethan the bag she was holding, returning everything he'd given her. "No, thank you. I'd rather continue with my life. Goodbye." Ethan understood Sarah's distrust and said, "I understand you don't trust me, and you shouldn't. After all, I'm a stranger. But I swear I have no ulterior motives. I was abandoned by my wife today, and in a moment of weakness, almost did something stupid. Maybe you and your daughter saved my life, and I'll be eternally grateful to you. I'm a good person and just want to give back." At that moment, the baby in Sarah's arms smiled at Ethan, made a cute sound, and then burst into laughter. Baby Lily was amused by Ethan's expressions. Her daughter's laughter made Sarah relax a bit. She remembered the day she received the sandwich and juice bottle from the same man, and how the woman in the car had yelled at him. "We'll just eat and take a bath, then we'll leave, okay?" Sarah said. Ethan smiled and replied, "Sure," agreed. The three went to Ethan's house, and upon arrival, Sarah was amazed. It wasn't a luxurious mansion, but it was more than she had ever had. Ethan led her to the living room, placed the groceries on the table, and excused himself to leave the room. When he returned, he handed Sarah some clothing options. I bought these for my ex-wife, but she didn't like them. If you want them, they're yours. I also have some clothes for your baby, and you can take a bath there, Ethan said, pointing to a room. Make yourselves comfortable. I'll quickly prepare something for us to eat. Sarah took her daughter in her arms and went to the suite. Entering the room, she noticed it was a fully planned baby room, which left her perplexed. She bathed her daughter, fed her until Lily fell asleep. Ethan prepared a simple dinner and was surprised when Sarah entered the room again with Lily in her arms. She didn't seem like the same woman he had met on the street minutes before. Sarah gently placed Lily on the living room sofa and sat at the table. The young mother devoured the meal with great appetite. Ethan watched her with affection, sympathizing with this woman challenged by life, while Lily rested warm and safe for the first time in weeks. At that moment, an unknown feeling awoke in Ethan's heart, bringing him comfort and warmth. He was experiencing, even if only in his imagination, the sensation of having a loving family. Ethan chose not to delve into Sarah's past or ask uncomfortable questions. He already understood the main thing. Sarah and Lily had no one to lend them a hand except him. Subscribe to the channel and click on the notification. Help this channel reach 1,000 subscribers. This way YouTube will deliver this content to more people who will benefit. I count on your help. Do you have children? Sarah asked, starting a conversation. Ethan swallowed hard before answering with a shaky voice that he couldn't have children, although he always wanted to. I was sure I'd be a father soon, so I decorated the room and got everything ready. I even dreamed about it, but my dream turned into a nightmare after countless attempts with my ex-wife, he said, still with a trembling voice. Noticing Ethan was emotional, Sarah apologized for touching on a sensitive subject she didn't know was delicate. Ethan reassured her, "Don't worry, Sarah. Actually, I'm the one who should apologize. I've never been in the state you found me today. I saw myself falling into a deeper, darker pit, and if it weren't for you, Ethan stammered, unable to finish the sentence, and Sarah placed her hand on his. It's okay now. We all have a dark side, but we need to keep faith in ourselves and know how to accept help when it appears. That's why I accepted your invitation." For the first time in a long time, Ethan felt understood, not by the woman he'd spent the last few years with, but by the stranger he had met on the street days earlier. The two finished the meal, and Sarah picked up Lily from the sofa. Ethan insisted they sleep in the baby's room, and this time the young mother didn't refuse. Sarah went to the room, placed Lily sleeping in the crib, and looked at the room's decoration. Every detail was filled with love and tenderness. Tears welled up in her eyes as she watched her daughter sleep under the soft light of the bedside table. At that moment, Ethan appeared at the door, smiled, and wished them good night before leaving. Sarah imagined Ethan passing by the room every day, fully aware that he would never hear a child's laughter there. The next day, Sarah was surprised to be awakened by another resident of Ethan's house, a cat named Whiskers. Whiskers took a liking to the mother and daughter, rubbing against Sarah's leg, purring affectionately, and touching her ankle with his paw. "Good morning, little one," Sarah exclaimed, scratching the animal behind the ear. Ethan had woken up earlier and immediately prepared breakfast for Sarah. Coffee, bread, eggs, and various fruits served at the table. While they ate, Ethan's phone alarm went off, leaving him pale with surprise. It was a reminder of an important work trip he'd forgotten due to the whirlwind his life had become in recent days, along with the previous day's drinking. In a rush, Ethan told Sarah he needed to get ready to catch a flight, but that she could stay there without any problem. Sarah hesitated, to which Ethan replied, "We need to know how to accept help, right? There's no sense in you and Lily sleeping on the street when this apartment will be empty. Besides, who will take care of Whiskers for me?" Ethan concluded with a convincing smile. Sarah thought for a few seconds, and Ethan breathed a sigh of relief when she finally accepted the proposal. Before Ethan's departure, Sarah prepared a sandwich for him and timidly said she would wait eagerly. When Ethan said goodbye to Sarah at the door, he felt he would miss Sarah and Lily and replied, "I'll be back as soon as I can. Please wait for me. I feel something good and true between us." Sarah nodded in agreement, and Ethan left. Weeks passed, and Ethan and Sarah talked daily through video calls. During these conversations, the young mother showed Whiskers and also her daughter Lily. Their relationship grew closer each day through long conversations filled with laughter and deep topics. Emma had filed for divorce, and although the reason for it saddened Ethan, the happiness he felt talking to Sarah was greater than he had ever felt with his ex-wife. Ethan returned home weeks later, holding a bouquet of white roses. Now he knew exactly what he wanted from life and realized it hundreds of miles away. "Sarah, will you be my girlfriend?" Ethan asked, excited. Sarah accepted, and they kissed. Months passed, and their relationship strengthened even more. One night, as they were leaving a restaurant, Ethan was carrying Lily in his arms when he crossed paths with his ex-wife, Emma, at the door. She was completely surprised by the scene. The calmness with which Ethan handled the situation made him even more aware that he was now with the right person. Emma seemed confused. "Ethan, is that you?" "This baby, but how?" Ethan continued towards his car, paying little attention. "Sorry, my daughter needs to go to bed. Good night." Subscribe to the channel and click on the notification. Help this channel reach 1,000 subscribers. This way YouTube will deliver this content to more people who will benefit. I count on your help. Sarah hugged Ethan's waist and accompanied him, holding back tears as she confirmed that her daughter now had a father. Sarah and Ethan got married, joining their hearts at the altar. Ethan's acquaintances and friends admired such a beautiful and unusual encounter, wishing the couple much happiness. Sarah held his hand, and the three got into the car. Ethan drove towards a life full of love and challenges as the father and husband he had always dreamed of being. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a like, and this other video appearing on the screen now will probably move you too. Enjoy the session and see you in the next video.